All right, welcome to the Driven to Succeed Real Estate Podcast. I am your host today, Terry Turwido. The other boys are out gallivanting across the country, spring break or something. But I have the pleasure to have Ryan Anderson here with me from RGA Insurance. Ryan, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, how's life?
Life is doing really good. We're already past St. Patrick's Day here in 2023. It is still quite chilly outside, but
I'm pretty over all of this right now.
yeah, me too.
I'm not going to shovel anymore.
No,
God put it there. God take it away.
just let it melt.
It's just sickening. Like these, a month and a half ago when it was 40 degrees and you're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Now I'm like, now I want 50.
Yeah, it's 40s cold.
It's just, I think we're all in the same boat. It's just spring needs to come now.
I agree.
And there's enough water out there. But anyway, Ryan, so, everybody needs home insurance. Everybody needs insurance these days, but a lot of people don't understand, they don't understand it, which I don't think they should understand it because a lot of people, it's like when they buy a house too, they only buy 1, 2, maybe 3 houses your entire life. Well, insurance, people are like, well, here, call this guy. How do you,
Right.
So,
and that's why I have a job. No one really knows deep into insurance details. They just look at the premium. I chose to become an independent insurance agency because I like having insurance with options. I like having the option to shop through all the top carriers, not just one. Not only just to find the best price for my client, but also to give them the best coverage as well. As a captive agent for 10 years with Farmers Insurance, I only had one option to choose from. Now, becoming an independent agent, I now have options. So,
which is nice because a lot of people, like I said, they don't. Even when I talk to some of my clients, they're like, well, Terry, what do you do? And I'm like, well, obviously we all know the cheapest isn't the best.
Right.
That I guess the questions are sometimes, like, I remember when I was asking, I'm like, I don't know if clients ask you this, like, if my house burns down, what is covered?
right.
Like, if literally a total loss, what's covered? What do you need covered?
And it's not just about total losses, because those do happen. You see it on the news every week that there are fires, but it's mainly for smaller catastrophes, wind and hailstorms, which we're having a lot of due to global warming. In the wintertime, we have ice dams that a lot of people neglect on their roof a lot.
I'm one of those.
Right now, we're about to come into the flood season, where a lot of people don't even know that flood is not covered under your insurance. We used to just call it water in the basement back in the day, but now people with their finished basements make sure that your gutters and your downspouts are six feet out. Make sure that you have a lining on your basement walls. Just get ready for the flood, because right now things like that aren't covered. Having an agent, a go-to agent that you can talk to, things like that you don't know, all you have to do is ask. And I think it's very important, because the water in the basement's not a fun thing, especially if it's completely finished. So,
do you have to have, so you don't have to be in like a flood plain, and do you have to have flood insurance for that?
So flood plains, you do have to have flood insurance, and that's a whole different type of policy.
Okay.
It's expensive. It's required by the lender.
Yep.
Flood insurance, it's really tricky. It's kind of cheap. It's only $500-$600 a year. But when they come in and you have water in the basement, they look at what is the due diligence that you've done. Did the neighbor have water in their basement? It's covered to a certain degree. So when it comes to this type of flood, as in the snow melting really fast, and we have a lot of it
Sub bump
right now.
Yeah.
Sub pump breaks. It's basically it's on you. even if you do have a flood policy, but it is not covered under your homeowner's insurance. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people
Now,
have
can
no
you
idea.
get insurance for, so basically, am I right? Tell me, when you get insurance, it's from the ground up, right?
Right.
So can you get insurance that's covering all the, because if people just did, let's say, a $60,000 remodel in their basement and spring is coming here and it floods, well, they're, what are they, SOL?
Kind of. Yeah, you need to do your due diligence as far as you can get a flood policy, a separate policy. It's not even an endorsement under your homeowner's policy. It's a separate flood policy that you can get. But like I said, the provisions in that policy, like I said, if the neighbors didn't have a flooded basement, if you weren't using your gutters correctly, if it's not everything's covered, it's only covered under a certain degree.
And do you guys come out, and does the insurance company come out and check that? Like, oh, were your gutters 6 feet from your place?
The flood insurance company would, but not your homeowner's insurance, if
Okay.
that makes sense. Flood is a completely different coverage.
So so do you talk to people about that
Yep,
too? And
exactly. Every spring, I always send out a mass email to all my clients. Every time I talk to a client, as far if they need something, I mention to them, do you have a finished basement? It's flood season. Get prepared for it. How are your downspouts doing? Do you have any ice dams that are possibly going to start melting really fast while the snow melts right now?
I don't think I have insurance for my basement. You know, after thinking about that, I'm like, I really wonder.
It's finished, your basement?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just like I said, have you done all the due diligence to make sure that there's no seepage? Because seepage isn't covered. If
Yeah.
you know what seepage is, and it goes through
The walls and
The-
stuff.
the
Like I've
walls.
never had, so knock on wood, I've never had personally that it's like a 1952 house, and I
Yeah.
believe it's pretty solid. And I've literally, like, there's snow up against my house, and I've never, knock on wood, I've never had a drop in my basement.
Well, it sounds like you've sealed the walls, and you have and a lot of it comes from the downspouts. If they're 6 feet out, it's not gonna
Right.
seep
Come
down.
toward the house,
Yep.
yeah.
It's mainly flooding when it melts. It's because of seepage. It goes right through the cinder blocks of the home. So when you to any preventative they have some type of
Well, it's a sealer of sorts.
sealer,
right?
thank
Yeah,
you very
A
much.
sealer,
Yeah,
but it's like, should you have to seal your own basement?
yeah. It's your homeowner should have to do a lot of things for your home. If you want to own a home, you should be able to take
Hey,
care, mow the
dude,
lawn.
It's true. I guess I don't ever, even personally, I don't think about that. Like but then my basement hasn't leaked, so I'm like, okay, maybe that's awesome.
Right.
Maybe they built things back then.
Sure. A lot of homeowners, what they don't understand sometimes is that insurance doesn't cover everything. And the first thing they want to do is, as soon as the smallest thing happens, they want to call their insurance agent. When the first thing you should be doing is calling a contractor to stop any further damage, or see if it's even, if you should even make a claim or not.
Interesting. Well, that brings me to then, let's talk about inflation now with the cost of goods going up. Obviously, insurance is going up, right?
Due to the pandemic, it brought an increase in supply, demand, which caused an increase in price for materials, labor, everything. Not just a small increase, it's dramatic increase in costs. The claims are costing insurance companies way more than they did even 2-3 years ago, 2019. And what happens then is that insurance companies have to increase their rates to be able to pay for.
Is that why my rate goes up automatically without ever having a claim?
Correct. And just like everything else, just like eggs, just like carton of milk, just like everything, insurance rates are going up like crazy. And it's mainly insurance that is going up, taking that huge drastic increase because supply and demands for labor and even lumber to rebuild, roofing materials, siding materials, that is all increasing, all due to the pandemic right now.
Wow. I suppose because they haven't caught up yet, and
Right.
they're not, It's weird though, like you'd think there's plenty of wood, plenty of everything out there, but obviously since they're like, well, we're gonna get that much for it, might as well keep it there, right?
Right. And what people don't understand is when they see those insurance rate hikes, it's not the insurance company trying to take it out on the consumers. It's the insurance company having to work with the Department of Commerce. They need to make sure that they have a certain amount of funds in their reserve system to pay for claims. And if they don't, if that reserve system starts getting below, if it gets below a certain amount of funds in the reserve system, they're not abiding by the law of the Department of Commerce, the Department of Insurance. Does that make sense? I wish
So
I
then
could
can they
review
just
that one.
raise, can they just raise prices? Like I remember, so my insurance went up 2 years ago, and my broker called me and she goes, Terry, did you have a claim because they raised your insurance? I'm like, no. She's like, well, maybe we should look into a new insurance company for you. Do you like to talk to your clients and say, hey, is there something like every couple years you should relook at your insurance and reevaluate where you're at, or?
Annually. When I was a farmer's agent, I would review my insurance with my clients annually. It wouldn't be at renewal because if they did take a rate increase, that's not all I want to be talking about. I would do it in between renewal or alphabetically. I'd go and I'd make sure that I would talk to each client at least once a year, if not 6 months, just to keep them up to date, let them know that they have someone that they can talk to.
Have a guy.
Have a guy.
Yeah.
And the more you talk to your client, the more you talk to your agent, the better of a relationship that you have. And it's not just going to be about a 6 or 8% increase every year. It's going to be about the value.
And is that a go across the board too with like, you know, obviously there's more storms, there's global warming. Does like everything kind of come into this, like whether there's more accidents because there was more snow this year? So is all of that contribute to the higher costs?
I'm a full believer in global warming. I started as an insurance agent in 2012, and every year since then, every summer, June, July, August, there are more Cat 1 wind and hail, heavy rainstorms every single year.
We've been seeing so much of that. It's crazy.
And in the wintertime, I'm sorry, but didn't we have the most snow in 30 years? The most snow starting in November in 30 years?
I mean, look at Tahoe, for Christ's sake. I mean, those pictures I saw, there's 20 feet of snow. That's scary.
Yeah, so, and then if you think about this too, insurance companies are having to adapt to the Teslas out there. The computer chips in the cars, aren't there like over 5,000 computer chips? Am I like under exaggerating here?
No, I don't think so.
The bumpers have sensors in them now, backup cameras in them now. Even the windshields have a sensor.
My brother-in-law owns a car shop, and I just talked to him the other night, and he said, Terry, it's no fun to work on cars anymore because you can't even change the brakes without reconnecting
It's all computer.
It's all computer.
It's all calibrating, and they actually don't even have mechanics that have gone to with enough knowledge to fix some of these cars. There's a demand for mechanics with the type of knowledge to be able to
just keep up with the technology.
Keep up with the technology, correct.
I just had a random question too. Someone just asked me the other day, is insurance on Teslas more expensive than an average car?
A lot more, especially the collision part of it. There's comprehensive, there's collision, comprehensive if your car is just sitting there like a tree falls on it or hail damage or it's stolen. Collision is when you are driving and you collide into something and there's coverage for the car. Of course, yeah, Tesla, I'm going to be honest, I don't even know where Tesla is, where they make Teslas. Is it San Francisco, California? So at least it's not a foreign part, which those are really hard to come by. They take forever. A lot of my clients, I always want to make sure that they have rental car reimbursement because their cars, literally just for a bumper, sit in that auto body shop for 3 times as long as prior. And if they don't have a rental car reimbursement, they're out of car just because it takes so long to get the part. And also the part is 10 times more expensive because it's sitting in a crate on the Pacific Ocean right now waiting, and then it has to go through a train, and then it has to get to the auto body shop. So basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of changes right now, and it's really good to have an independent agent that has options, that has not only options for the best price, but for the best coverage, for the knowledge, and just for a peace of mind of explaining every detail that you and I have just got done going over.
There's just so like, that's just crazy when you talk about, like I said, just car insurance in general. Like, I remember my dad back in the day when we were younger, my dad was always like, buy your vehicle, don't ever lease. Well, my brother-in-law just said to me finally, don't buy your vehicle anymore, lease it because it's covered.
Full believer in leasing. I couldn't even imagine
changing
opening
too
up
fast.
my hood and seeing what was wrong with it or something, or just
Right.
not being able to bring it back to the car dealership and then being like, whatever that is, fix it and give me a loaner car, something off your
I
lot.
just want to be covered.
I just want to be
I just
covered.
want to be covered.
Because I can't deal with any type of extra expense, especially how much they're going up
Dude,
right
like
now.
I said, it's-
I'd rather have a monthly payment.
This last vehicle that I, because you know what, you kind of always have a monthly payment, unless
Correct.
who's
You
got all
bought-
the cash in the bank?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Who
So
owns their car?
you're gonna own your car for 5 years. You're like, I hate that car. Well, I just paid it off. I want a new one. So guess what? Might as well have it covered. Like my last truck I bought, I will probably drive that till it dies because I hate to say it, within what, even 5 years, 10 years, we're all gonna not have a gasoline car, right?
That's correct. And I'd say within 10, 15 years, I'd say that there's going to be self-driving cars, and it's all going to be covered by Google.
Are we gonna make it to the George Jetson era? That's my question.
I thought there was, I'm sorry, but we are already 10 years past the Back to the Future Part 2, where there was flying cars. So they were way off with Michael J. Fox,
Yeah,
I'll tell
that's
you
true.
that. Right?
It's so crazy, you know. It's just, I guess that's why you have insurance, you know.
Right.
It's, you know, that's why it's nice to have a guy like you, where you know your clients. Like I said, when I tell my clients when they're buying a house, like, don't go through the Progressive because, oh yes, you have an agent. Your agent's name is number 1657427. You know.
Right.
Call Ryan.
Right.
You know.
I can write through Progressive, and they're actually a great company, but it's also nice to have, they're always not the best company. Nationwide, Liberty Mutual, Safeco. I love having these options. And the more options you have when it comes to insurance with all these changes, the better you're going to be in the long run.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you have? Like, I don't know. Let's end on a fun note. What do you have a fun little story that that you ended in a win or something crazy happened?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories when it comes to claims and everything, but I want to say the best story that I have is when I switched from a captive farmer's agent to an independent agent. And one of my past clients called me up and said, gosh, where did you go, Ryan? I had you for 10 years. I miss you. I told him that I went independent and I have options now. And he said, well, can you take a look at my insurance? Every year it's just been going up and up and up. And the agent that I have now, the only option he has for me is to increase my deductibles and skim my coverage.
Awesome.
And that's it. And it's still not going down. The premium's still not going down. And now I don't have these coverages. I don't even know what he skimmed down. All I knew is that I wanted to make it more feasible. I reviewed his policy for him, shopped several different carriers. I got his coverage back to where he needed it, and I got his premium down to where he wanted it.
That's all I can ask
That's not a fun story, but it was for him, and it was for
100%.
me, because the look on their faces when I can actually put them where they need to be at a feasible rate and help them understand their coverages, that's what I like about my job.
That's what it's all about, dude. Like I said, I think everybody should. I'm a firm believer of having a guy.
Right.
Like, I try to have a guy for everything.
Yep.
Why? Because guess what? If I can pick up my phone right now, and whether you answer, you're probably going to call us back in an hour. Guess what? You're not going to get that anywhere else. So that
Right.
personalized service is everything. And I think service it's starting to really make a comeback in just, I try to be available for all my clients all the time. Why? Because this, especially when you're buying a house,
Sure.
it's the biggest deal of your life. You
It's the
know?
biggest asset of your life for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely.
So guess what? Have it covered.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
well, Ryan, I really appreciate you taking the time
Yeah.
coming to chat with us
nice
today.
talking to you,
It was fun, and like I said, if you have any questions, Ryan's info is right here, and feel free to reach out to them just to review your quote. You just don't know how much you can possibly save, you know? So, but don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for joining us today. And Ryan, thanks again for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
All right, have a good day.
You too.